Hi, Facebook. I'm Seth Nall. I'm one of the preachers here at Glen Raven Baptist Church. These are one of the interviews that we're going to start bringing to you along the way. I have with me today Robin Fitzgerald. She is Bobby Fan's daughter. She is Sean Fitzgerald's wife. Very integral part of this church. Reason we have her here today is she has just wrote a new book. This is your fourth book.
It is.
We're just going to let her introduce her book, let her talk about her book. This is a great thing, something that all of us are happy that Robin does, and we get a lot out of that. So, Robin, what's the name of your book, and tell us a little bit about it to start.
So this book is As a Man Thinks, How to Change Your World by Changing Your Thoughts. And it's really like a biblical self-help book, if that makes sense. And so it uses biblical principles, actually principles that I stole from King Solomon. And it uses his principles to formulate a plan for your life. A lot of us are in situations we don't want to be. We're not where we envision our life. Our life is not where we envisioned it, maybe when we were young in high school or whatever. And so this is a plan for how to get there. How can you get to the place that you want to be?
Okay. Well, that sounds, because that's the daily struggle with all of us, is we're really not where we want to be. We're always looking for something else. I don't know anyone that's 100% satisfied in life. So just to delve into that, how do we go about that? What's some steps to take to start down that path to become satisfied?
Well, I guess the whole premise of the book is that everything starts in our thoughts. You know, I'm also a therapist, and I do cognitive behavioral therapy. And one of the things in therapy, but it's true for the whole world, is that everything really begins in our thoughts. So, for instance, if if you have a bad day, most of the time we wake up and think, this is going to be an awful day, and it turns into a bad day. But if we wake up and are like, man, this is going to be awesome, this is a great day, then usually we have a great day. So lots of our life happens in our thoughts. So the whole premise of the book is, what do we do with those thoughts?
Okay. And I know you mentioned something about quantum physics is involved, and quite honestly, the only quantum physics that I'm aware of is from the show Quantum Leap. So you're going to have to explain some of that too.
Okay, I will tell you a little bit. And I have just an elementary education in quantum physics. I'm a little bit of a nerd, as you know. And so I like to read. And one of the places that I think God led me, as I was actually looking at faith healing, wondering, there were lots of faith healers back in the early part of the century, of the early part of the 1900s. There were lots of faith healings, but we see fewer and fewer of that, it feels like. And so I was kind of thinking, okay, what's the deal with this faith healing? And so I think God led me to this place of quantum physics. And quantum physics actually has stuff to do with our thoughts. Scientists are proving, for years and years and years, we have just believed science where it says you have to have this logical, rational explanation or it doesn't count. We have to disregard it. Well, quantum physics has come on the scene and kind of said, okay, there are some things that just absolutely don't make sense. And so there's this thing called a double slit experiment that they did that I just think is neat, and I hope I won't bore you in the retelling, but I guess I won't retell the experiment. You can read about it in the book, but the gist of the experiment is that quantum physics started observing matter, like the smallest elements of the universe, like protons and electrons and the smaller elements of the universe. And what they found out is that in some cases, it looks like matter changes based on being observed. And so that means sort of our observation or our thoughts or our interaction can change matter. So if you really think about it, and the book says it better because I'm trying to get a long explanation into a short answer, but if you really think about it, all our observations, our thoughts, it appears affects us. Now, we know that the Bible says that as a man thinketh, so is he. And it seems like science is beginning to verify that if we think negative, we get negative back.
Okay. So, just to, I guess, to bring it closer to where we are, because, for the normal person to understand quantum physics, like I said, my only experience is Quantum Leap, the TV show. So, maybe more of the spiritual level that we would see in our own lives and every day. How does that really obtain or pertain to us?
Well, God says, as a man thinks, so is he. So if you're going through life and you're constantly thinking, I'm never going to get ahead, this is awful, my experience is awful, everything's bad, then what are you going to get? Probably.
You're going to get just that.
You're going to get that. And so the Bible says, as a man thinks, so is he. So it is so important that we recognize that our thoughts do something in our life, shape our life, possibly shape situations around us. And so we have to change those thoughts. So that's part of what the book does. The first thing that the book does is it identifies your calling, because every single one of us have a calling within us. God did not make two people alike. That's the neat thing, like snowflakes or fingerprints. He made us all different. And even though we might be similar, all of us are different. And so the first thing in the book is identify our calling. Why were you created? Why was I created? Because until we walk in why we were created, we'll never be happy. We were created for a purpose, and until we find that purpose in God, we're not going to be happy. So the first thing is finding your purpose. The next thing is recognizing that a lot of times we let our negative thoughts stop us from our purpose. You know what I mean?
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I do it too. We let our negative thoughts stop us from becoming what we need to be. And so as a result of that, we have to find a way to change those thoughts. And the book is not a long process because it's a short book. If you don't like to read, it's an easy to read book.
Okay, good.
I knew you would say that because I knew Seth does not love to read like I do. But it's an easy to read, easy to do book. And what it is, it helps you identify your calling. It helps you to recognize that your thoughts have importance. It also helps you recognize that you have to have a plan to consciously change those thoughts. And Solomon said that you have to find your path and stick to it, and don't get sidetracked. Don't look right or left, because when you start doing that, your mind is free to just run into chaos, and usually it runs into negative thinking patterns. And so we actually form a plan. We do short-term plans and then long-term plans to get us to our overriding vision, because the Bible says that without a vision, people perish. And so it's a whole formulated plan for those of us, myself included, who may not be where we want to be. And it encompasses every area of your life. The book encourages you to look at yourself at a spiritual level, at a psychological level, emotional level, to look at your house, to look at your car, to look at your job, to look at your family, to look at your finances. It encourages you to look at every area of your life and form a plan. Because you might do really great in one area. Maybe your job's going really great, but your family's falling apart. Or maybe your family's doing great, but you hate what you're doing. You go to work every day and you think, this stinks, I don't want to do this. And so the book encourages you to look at every element of your life and to form a plan and to start moving in the direction of that plan. It talks about reinforcement that, because I'm a therapist, I include psychological principles. And so it talks about how we can reinforce our behavior so that our behavior will continue more. Because a lot of times we get sidetracked. We might think, that's a great idea, and start something, and then we give it up halfway through or part of the way through. So you form short-term plans with reinforcement, which leads to long-term goals. The book really is designed to take 12 months. And I'm hoping to do like a videotape session of it, because it really is a whole program.
I saw looking through it that there's blanks to fill in. There's different things to involve the reader other than just reading.
Right.
So it's more of a study book than just a reading book.
Right. We better not say that because people may not. But an
Well,
easy study book,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
A self-help easy study book, but using the principles of God. You know, one of the things we were talking about prior to this starting is a lot of times we really want to set some goals and we really want to do the right thing, but we get sidetracked. And we'll get sidetracked because sometimes studies tell us that our subconscious makes the majority of our decisions for us. You know, you don't think about that because your subconscious helps you breathe and helps your systems regulate, but it also allows you to act in certain ways and will only let you think certain thoughts. And so part of the book is working to retrain your subconscious so that it doesn't throw you off track as you're trying to get to the place you want to go.
Well, to what Robin's saying, her book, I'm sure it's awesome. Haven't read it yet. Only looked through it. Do not be intimidated by the word study book. It is a thinner book, so don't be intimidated by study book. I'm going to read it. Hopefully you do the study. We put it out there for Facebook for everyone to enjoy. If they want a copy of your book,
The book is available on Amazon, so you can buy it right off of Amazon. Just put the title in and you can find it. Eventually, we'll have copies here at the church, but we don't have those yet, and they'll be limited. So probably the easiest place, especially if you want it soon, to purchase it is off of Amazon. I would love at some point for everyone, you know, if you could come to my workshop, I would love for that to happen. That is probably going to be limited, so you may not be able to get into that, but at least get the CDs and go through the process with me as we work towards setting goals and getting us to that place.
set your first goal, get the book, do the study. That's your first goal. Work through the book. You'll come out on the better for it. So